What do you think of them?
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
That is so beautiful.
No,
They're ridiculous.
no,
She never stops whining.
no.
Meghan Markle Googled, is the race car an actual car?
Slay the dragon, save the princess. I'm like, that's my husband.
I love your Luke.
Sorry, what's that?
You're Luke. You look amazing. You're Luke.
My Luke, my
Luke. Look. She likes my Luke.
Your voice is driving me crazy and I'm about to jump over there and put my fists down your throat.
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout. Like she's completely camera ready. And she also is pretending like she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
I've never seen someone that struggles to just give us like one strip of authenticity.
I think the woke have been asleep.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
You're complaining about your hard life and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous.
I'm searching for something to like about her, and it's so hard.
Well, if Meghan and Harry can quit their family, you can too.
No.
Is Meghan Markle truly the Duchess of Drama? Or is she once again putting on the victim act for the cameras?
Here's an email that I've been keeping for you.
I have full body chills right now.
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on. Thank you. Yeah.
That is so beautiful.
No.
Did her tear-soaked podcast appearance actually help her image? Or did it just make things even worse? Because let's be real, none of it felt genuine. And then there's the host, Jamie Kern-Lima.
Jamie Kern-Lima, who seems to be even more fake and insufferable than the Duchess.
Both of them did come across like they haven't actually, been in touch with maybe someone who's worried about the price of eggs.
Very first question, because I think in friendship it's so important. And I think so many people also have this question for you is, Meghan, how are you? And are you okay?
That's so kind.
Yes, it really is that awful. I may have blacked out from smacking myself in the head.
She honestly gave me the creeps. The way she kept praising Meghan like she was royalty reborn, it was unreal. It felt less like an interview and more like some over-the-top fan club gathering.
Dan, when you do interviews on your show, do you do the Jamie Kern-Lima reactions? Yes. Oh my God, there's something wrong with her.
Now let's dive into how the internet roasted her so-called most influential Time magazine moment. Add Prince Harry's awkward BBC interview flop. Critics were cringing the whole way through. And then there are those insider whispers, people saying Meghan comes off more narcissist than noble. Even when she brings up kids, it somehow circles back to her every single time.
For kids that's fun, so many good songs, and I've become that mom where I'm like sitting around with friends and I start singing like Tyrannosaurus, that's the chorus, Tyrannosaurus. I was like, what am I singing? Oh my gosh, I'm singing Storybook. I'm singing Storybooks. I am not singing Beyonce in that.
Her Spotify deal axed, her Netflix show total flop. And now she's teetering on the edge of being completely cut off from the royal family. Maybe it's time she stopped signing gifts as Her Royal Highness. Because let's be honest, no one's buying that fantasy anymore.
40 minutes into the podcast, this little picture, quite a grainy picture, flashed up, which shows a basket of, homemade preserves with a card on it, HRH, Duchess of Sussex, Meghan.
You dropped off this gift basket with ice creams, homemade strawberry sauce to put on top of the ice cream.
I find it a little bit cringe to give a gift to a close friend and sign it Her Royal Highness.
Why even in private? She's using that full title, Her Royal Highness.
I would never refer to myself as Her Royal Highness.
They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm going to put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
Meghan Markle's latest podcast was hyped as raw and unfiltered. No makeup, no script, just the Duchess bearing her soul. But let's be honest, it didn't feel authentic at all. In fact, the whole thing came off like a carefully staged performance, a polished PR stunt disguised as emotional honesty.
I just think she's crying for sympathy, playing the victim, when there's nothing to be a victim about, and there's also no sympathy to be granted for this lifestyle that she's chosen to live.
Katy Perry calling herself an astronaut felt more believable than Meghan Markle pretending to be authentic. The podcast host, Jamie, might be Meghan's friend, but let's be real, she spent the whole episode just praising her endlessly. It felt like a scripted fan letter, not a real interview. And in the end, we didn't learn anything except just how far Meghan's royal fakeness can stretch.
Work so hard. The moment that everything sells out, it doesn't mean that we're done. It means we're working on replenishment and what are the next SKUs and what's the next tranche of products and what's the timing on that and writing the newsletters and writing the social media captions and making sure that all that feels in line and what's the cadence of it.
In this interview, she really goes on these tangents of talking about how stressful her day is. And when I was listening to it, I was thinking, no, that sounds like a normal day to me, Meghan.
Critics didn't fall for it. Most saw it for what it really was, a calculated move to position Meghan as the next big lifestyle brand. Sure, everything sold out in 30 minutes, but that's the trick. There was barely any product to begin with. It's a marketing stunt designed to look like a success, even if the whole thing is built on smoke, mirrors, and hype.
It flopped really hard despite Spotify trying to push it, and they realized that these two don't really want to work, okay?
Happened to Spotify. The critics were horrible about With Love, Meghan. You sold inventory that you didn't have on asever.com. People are still waiting for their refund.
So when she's trying to sell these kind of, I'm sorry, but crappy, cheap tats to middle America, she needs to have this relatability, and she doesn't have that at all.
While people online are still fuming that they haven't received their orders, and it's been almost a month, Meghan's new trademark filings for yoga mats and pet bowls just added fuel to the fire. Former fans were quick to slam it as a desperate cash grab. And honestly, can you blame them?
She's trying to sell herself as this wholesome mother who's baking cookies and making tea for the rest of the family.
And this was one of the most, every mother out there will understand. She wants us to put together a fruit crudité board. Our children in the morning. Now, look, Maureen.
I can't.
Look at this.
I can't. She is doing a cooking show on Netflix. I only watched 5 seconds of it, and I thought she was going to cut her wrist by trying to zest a lemon. This girl has never been in the kitchen in her life.
I've seriously never heard a podcast where someone goes on and on about how perfect their life is. It was nonstop self-praise.
I don't like her.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Everybody who works for her quits. Everybody says she's a bully. She's very nasty. Not only is she incredibly controlling, but she's a bitch about it to everybody who works for her. When things inevitably start spiraling downward, she blames everyone but herself.
No struggle, no real honesty, just wave after wave of self-promotion. So here's the big question. Is she actually bearing her soul or just playing another leading role in the never-ending Meghan Markle show?
They want it both ways. These people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention. And then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Meghan, once again playing the role of the perfect mom, claims she writes emails to her 2 kids every single night. Yes, nightly emails to toddlers, if you can even believe that. It doesn't sound like parenting. It sounds like a carefully crafted PR move. Seriously, who does that? It's the kind of thing people say when they want to seem flawless, not when they're being real.
Can you imagine being Archie or Lilibet and opening this inbox of 6,000 emails when you turn 18? No one wants that, not the children. And also it sets this really unrealistic expectation, which Meghan is so good at doing for other parents.
If I don't have meetings in the morning, then I try to do school drop-off. They're at 2 different schools. So from 6:30 in the morning on drop-off mornings for me, I'm not home till 9.
Her life is so hard because she has to do school drop-offs. And thank God that she's got a live-in nanny basically raising these 2 children.
The episode racked up millions of streams and clips exploded across TikTok and Instagram, but not everyone was impressed. Host Jamie Kern-Lima kept calling it raw, but most people weren't buying it. What made it even weirder? Jamie kept repeating that Meghan hadn't seen any of the questions beforehand. Why say it so many times? It started feeling less like honesty and more like pre-planned damage control, trying to get ahead of the internet before anyone could call it fake.
You haven't seen any of the questions ahead of time, and we're in our sweat, and you look the exact same with no makeup as makeup, and we're
that's very
Seriously, why keep hammering that point? Why turn it into such a big deal? Are you trying to convince the audience it's real? Or just trying to convince yourself this wasn't scripted from the very beginning? Because the harder you push it, the more fake it starts to feel.
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout. Like she's completely camera ready. And she also is pretending like she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
During promotion for Suits, she was joking with one of the photographers that she can cry on command. Left eye, go. And then you watch a tear fall down her face, and then she starts cackling because she's so proud of herself.
She has this really famous thing where she says one tap left eye and she can make herself cry on demand.
Either way, no one was buying it. The whole thing felt way too perfect, too polished, too rehearsed. Even Alexander Larman from the Daily Mail called her tears a transparent attempt to stay relevant. And honestly, he's not wrong. Former fans ripped the episode apart, pointing out how carefully staged everything looked, like it was all part of a rollout plan. One person even joked, even her tears have a PR team. And let's be real, it didn't feel like a raw breakdown. It felt like a carefully packaged brand launch in disguise.
It's just another lie from Meghan where she's told us one thing about this wholesome family life that she's got, but really it's staff behind the scenes that are upholding this entire image.
Markle reported that critics saw her stories as painfully self-centered, always circling back to her brand or her own struggles. It was like every moment had to shine a spotlight on Meghan. Even The Express quoted royal insiders saying this sudden emotional switch-up won't repair her image. In fact, some believe it's just another carefully planned performance, one more calculated move to stay in the headlines while pretending to be relatable. And let's be honest, we've seen this act before.
They kind of f***ed up their whole thing, went way too hard on we're victims, and they assessed the mood of their generation and America correctly in that we are lovers of victimhood.
Yeah.
But America did finally find a way to say, you know what, we love victims, but you two, we've just had a little too much of it.
I mean, tone deaf could be Meghan Markle's middle name.
Meghan's big appearance at the Time 100 Summit sparked backlash almost instantly. And honestly, it's hard to say who came off more fake, Blake Lively with that over-the-top charm, or Meghan Markle playing the royal victim yet again. Either way, the whole thing felt painfully staged, like every line had been rehearsed in front of a mirror.
She didn't make the Times list of cool people, but she did get invited there because her agency probably bought her access. This is one of the goofiest things ever.
Because I think it speaks to the tiny moments of joy that are so effortless and just create a little bit of magic that we're all craving.
What in the hell word salad is this?
Tiny little flower petals that are dried. I started putting them on salads. I started putting them on scrambled eggs. Level of charm that you find people have when they see these tiny little dried petals is something I can't fully wrap my head around, but I appreciate.
I'm elevating it by putting dried flower petals on all of my food.
Her Time Summit speech, despite not even making the 2025 list, only stirred up more backlash. Former fans called her appearance ridiculous, pointing out that her business is flopping. She's selling jam, honey, and cupcake sprinkles, not exactly world-changing. Meanwhile, GB News quoted critics calling Meghan nothing more than a self-promoter clinging to royal titles just to stay relevant. And with her so-called influence under serious fire, Time's nod doesn't feel like a crown, it feels like a PR favor dressed up as recognition.
She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled she became a, quote, princess.
I mean, Meghan did claim that before dating Harry, she never Googled him, and she said she didn't know much about the royal family.
It was planned from the beginning. I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince Harry on it.
Before they met?
Yes.
Prince Harry's latest BBC interview, where he took a swipe at King Charles for ignoring his security concerns after losing a court appeal, sparked major backlash. Critics didn't hold back. They called it yet another tone-deaf moment from a prince who seems more obsessed with pointing fingers than facing reality. The drama just keeps piling up.
He lost at the trial court level on this push to make the British royal family pay for his security when he goes to the UK.
Once they realise that myself, my wife, and our kids are happier outside of the institution, please just look at the fact. Look at the risks, look at the threat, look at the impact that if anything was to happen to me, my wife, or my father's grandchildren, look where the responsibility lies.
What a manipulation. My father's grandchildren. They're going to and it will be his fault.
It's gaslighting on a grand scale.
The Daily Mail's Sarah Vine tore into Harry's gloomy tone, calling it pure self-pity, and accused him of using King Charles' cancer diagnosis to fish for sympathy. ITV News reported that palace insiders thought his comments were in shockingly poor taste, while the Mirror claimed Charles doesn't even trust him anymore, worried that every private conversation could end up in a Netflix special. And X-users, they went off. Some called Harry spoiled, others dramatic, and one even dubbed the entire spectacle a royal pity party. The backlash wasn't just loud, it was brutal.
But as soon as Meghan Markle made it absolutely clear that it was all about the moolah, it was all about the big bucks, it was all about trading off the royal name, but she was lining up these deals when she was still the Duchess of Sussex. She was in talks with Disney, she was in talks with the publishing companies, in talks with Netflix. At that point, the late Queen Elizabeth II, quite rightly, in my opinion, said, no, there is no half in, half out. So you can go, you go with our blessing, but you lose everything.
The overall reaction? Harry's interview came off like one long, overblown complaint, only making the royal family rift even worse. And let's not ignore the constant buzz that Meghan hates the royals and was the one who truly drove the wedge. Some aren't just saying she caused tension, they're saying she blew the whole thing up on purpose. If that's true, this wasn't just drama, it was sabotage in a tiara.
But I have zero sympathy for him. The fact that he is putting his father through this in the final years of his life. And Meghan, there are members of the royal family who believe that Harry's behavior hastened the death of the late Queen Elizabeth II.
I believe that too. That's what I say. I say those two killed the Queen.
Megyn Kelly didn't hold back. She straight up called Meghan a malignant narcissist. The Telegraph's Celia Walden slammed her podcast as nothing more than a self-absorbed therapy session in disguise. Even Page Six reported that big lifestyle brands like Goop are shutting her down, saying Meghan's just too polarizing to represent their image. And honestly, they're not wrong. When even wellness empires are backing away, you know the damage is done.
Thank you for trusting me with your first ever podcast. And with your friendship. Yeah.
Means a lot, Jamie. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a very accepting person. Truly, I want to like something about her. I'm searching for something to like about her, and it's so hard.
Every time she sheds a tear, it feels more like a sales pitch than real emotion. Critics say it's not vulnerability, it's a performance. Rehearsed, overproduced, and painfully fake. She's not opening up, she's acting. And the worst part, people are finally starting to see right through it.
And this podcast with Jamie Kern-Lima was absolutely car crash. I mean, Jamie Kern-Lima is actually a very successful woman, a self-made billionaire. However, she is a fame whore because, you know, she first found fame by appearing on the first series of Big Brother. She believes that she's the new Oprah Winfrey. And the problem is, you realize these are the types of people Meghan Markle is surrounding herself with. And none of them are prepared to ever give her a dose of reality.
She agreed with every single thing Meghan said, like a full-on yes man with zero spine. It didn't feel like an interview. It felt like royal fan fiction come to life. The Independent's Royson Lanigan even said Jamie Kern-Lima's nonstop gushing made the episode feel more like an infomercial than a real conversation. There wasn't a single authentic moment. It was all just one long, polished promo for Meghan's image.
Usually when we're together, we're in our cozy sweats and no makeup. So that's how we are today. No one's picked up my book proposal yet.
Yes.
I haven't found my soulmate yet. Everything is yet.
The power of yet.
The power of yet. Yet. Yet.
But I'm happy. And the kids are healthy and H is great. But I'm trying to also enjoy these these big wins right now.
Yes.
Enjoy them.
Ex-users were quick to point out this wasn't a real conversation. It was a full-blown Meghan Markle hype session. And let's not forget, the host sold her company for $1 billion. She's no rookie. She knows how to build something real, way more than Meghan ever has. Yet instead of offering anything helpful or honest, she spent the entire hour acting like Meghan walks on water. I didn't learn a single useful thing, except just how far someone will go to protect a carefully crafted, totally fake image.
Yeah, she's a princess too, and Harry is slaying dragons to rescue her.
You know, look what we built. We've built a beautiful life, and we have 2 healthy, beautiful children. And I always think about it like the end of Super Mario Brothers when you get to the final level. And what's the goal in Super Mario? They're like, slay the dragon, save the princess. I'm like, that's my husband.
Who is Harry rescuing her from? The family she abandoned before making him abandon his?
Meghan's podcast tears and Harry's dramatic BBC outburst are raising the same burning question. Is any of this real, or are we just watching another episode of The Sussex Show? From Time's suspicious influential award to staffers spilling behind-the-scenes stories about Meghan's explosive temper, the line between truth and PR spin is getting blurrier by the day. At this point, it's hard to tell where the real people end and the performance begins.
Meghan has always said that, you know, she's got lots of staff around her, and we've heard lots of complaints from lots of people that have worked for Meghan.
Critics say they're a narcissistic duo, constantly inflating their problems to squeeze out sympathy. Sure, their supporters call them misunderstood, but the internet, it's not buying it. More and more people now believe the so-called Duchess of Drama and her prince are less about truth and all about brand building. Is any of this real, or is it just one long, carefully packaged performance for clicks and cash? At this point, who really knows anymore?